women are getting too damn lazy when it comes to dating. I overheard a 30-year-old woman today say, I don't want to train the man who I end up with. I want him to already come trained. First of all, he's not a dog. You do not train a man as if he's a small puppy. And second of all, do you know the laziness that it signifies for you to say something along the lines of, I don't want to train him, I want him ready? That means you expect the women in his life prior to you, either his mother or his exes, to have done the work for you so that you can just be passed on the perfect gift. No, that's not how it works. It's lazy, it's narcissistic, and it signifies that you do not want to put in any work into this relationship. That you just expect it ready-made. It ain't no turnkey house. God's not going to drop you a gift from the heavens at 30 years old. You're ready to go on clearance. So act right and end up and settle for the man that you deserve, which probably isn't that much if you're still single at 30.
What's really unsettling isn't that men are single. It's that they're genuinely thriving without needing validation, marriage, or constant romantic drama to feel complete. And when men stop chasing partnership as survival and start treating it as optional, that shift flips the entire dating power dynamic overnight.
You know, I see why men are staying single, because look around. We have women out here bragging about not cooking, not cleaning, not taking care of their home, not being soft, and not being supportive. And then expecting a man to show up as a provider, leader, planner, protector, and lover, while giving him absolutely nothing in return. And yes, I will be the one to say it. A home needs a woman who actually enjoys being a woman. A woman who takes pride in making her home feel warm and peaceful. A woman who loves her man in the same way that she wants to be loved. That is not oppression, that is care. Men are tired of being treated like a walking wallet. Tired of disrespect. Tired of begging for affection and a little peace. So, they are choosing to stay single, not because they hate women, but because they are looking for a woman that values her role just as much as his. And honestly, I don't blame them, because relationships only work when both people show up and give.
The main problem is parents aren't raising girls to be wives. Men are staying single because so many women want a husband but don't want the work that comes with a real relationship. Marriage used to mean partnership, not convenience.
Why successful men stay single? It's often the same mechanism that makes men savage in the workplace that also makes them extremely intelligent when it comes to women. For example, successful men know how to sniff out desperation and entitlement. Most women want their lifestyle, not them, so they become experts at sniffing that shit. They don't settle for.
Let's be honest. Marriage is officially the worst investment a man can make in 2026. We keep asking why men are staying single, but look at the actual cost-benefit analysis. He's expected to be the provider, the protector, and pay every single bill on time. And what does he get in return? A permanent roommate who's grumpy 6 days a week. We've reached a point where men are subbing their lifestyle for women who don't even like them. If a man ran his business the way he runs his marriage, he'd be bankrupt in a month. He's putting in 100% of the capital for a 1% return on intimacy if he's lucky. Since when did once a month become the standard for a high-performance partnership? Ladies, we can't demand traditional provision while offering zero traditional peace. Modern women want a CEO husband but offer the attitude of a disgruntled middle manager. Why would a rational man sign a contract where he loses half his assets if she gets bored? It's not fear of commitment. It's a basic understanding of a bad trade. We've priced ourselves out of the market and we're wondering why the buyers are leaving. If there's no peace, no intimacy, and no financial logic, what exactly is the benefit here?
For years, the narrative was that men would eventually grow out of bachelor life and come crawling back for stability. But now millions are financially stable, emotionally regulated, socially connected, and completely unbothered. And nothing shakes expectations more than men who aren't desperate for approval.
Women hating to see men be happy. They hate to see it. So many women, even if they're married or have a boyfriend, they're like, ugh, I hate when he's happy. Ugh, he's smiling. Ugh, gosh. Like, I don't understand that. I don't understand why a woman would want a man to be unhappy or why she just doesn't feel comfortable when he is happy. It is a sign of insecurity. It is a sign of...
Marriage used to be positioned as the ultimate upgrade for a man's life. But when divorce risks, financial strain, and emotional imbalance feel statistically higher than the reward, choosing bachelorhood stops looking immature and starts looking strategic.
I think it's time for men to start being way more picky when it comes to dating, especially in New York City. People say this to women all the time. They're always like, raise your standards, raise the bar, but they never say it to men. And I think that's why we have this new epidemic of men gravitating towards so many low quality women and having such a large roster rather than prioritizing one high quality woman. Like, men should be more picky. So for the men of New York City, I have some tips for you guys to stay away from that extremely large roster of lower quality women and start heading towards prioritizing one amazing one. Number one is all the guys who say they don't want a party girl and they always end up with one and they're not comfortable with it, but they literally met that girl at the bar. If you want to meet someone out, I recommend going to a more upscale cocktail hour place rather than a frequented club or bar. For example, some places like People's or like Mace in the Greenwich Village. Another one is the apps. You're probably not finding your dream girl on Tinder. I'd recommend members only apps because they like filter out the lower quality people. So I would go with Raya or Cuffed. Raya has very like elite status people. And then Cuffed is the members only app based in New York where you only talk to one person at a time. Another way is meeting women in activities you enjoy. If you like cooking, go to a pasta making class. If you really like fitness, run clubs are such a great idea just because they're built to be social and be fit, meeting other people in the things that you like. And then lastly is that I think we need to renormalize approaching women during the day sober. A lot of men have told me that like, oh, it's creepy, women don't actually like that. But personally, in the past year, I've only been approached twice in broad daylight while a man is sober. And both times I appreciated it so much. I thought this guy was so much more brave than, you know, the guy who waits till they're wickedly drunk to come approach me and ask me for my number. You don't have to be creepy and weird about it. You just go and introduce yourself. I promise you, women appreciate that so much more. Hope that helped.
What terrifies people isn't men opting out. It's men opting out calmly. No bitterness, no online rants. Just quiet confidence and self-sufficiency. Because a man who doesn't need a relationship to feel valuable is a man who can't be pressured into one.
I actually blame all of the 90s and early aughts sitcoms for convincing mediocre looking men that they can have tens as wives. I fully blame them because in what universe does a Ross Geller end up with a Rachel without a serious personality adjustment? And I know like Rachel isn't perfect or anything like that, but Rachel is a baddie. She absolutely is. And Ross is just Ross. And I just feel like, and this is like the top end, right? Like Ross and Rachel, fine. That still makes relative sense. But so many of those like 90s and like early aughts sitcoms had like men who were essentially maybe threes getting together with women who are like nines or tens. And that convinced a lot of men that they are capable of having nines or tens as wives. And that is why you find loads of men these days trying to date way out of their league. You know, like, I just think that if you are going to try to do that, you need to have the personality of like the nicest, most decent, most kind, most generous kind of man on the entire planet. That's how you end up with a 10. But these men don't even want to do that. They want to be butt heads and end up with 10s. How is that supposed to work? I don't know how these men's brains work, but I definitely think those 90s and early aughts propaganda convinced them that they could end up with 9s or 10s as wives, even if they are 3s.
What I need the world to realize is that Americans do not give a shit about you. The majority of Americans don't even know that your country exists. They wouldn't be able to even pick it out on a map. If the United States government decided to yeet your country off of the face of the earth tomorrow, the majority of Americans would not bat an eye. Half the country would support it. The majority of the other half are apathetic to it. The people in this country who actually give a shit about the world are an extreme minority. And so why does the world continue to care about America in this way? Following American trends, adopting these cultural practices that are largely rooted in consumerism, looking up to American celebrities and public figures, this country and its people are nothing to emulate. American consumption habits are literally destroying the world. This country is only 5% of the world's total population, but is responsible for a quarter of the trash that it produces. The parasitic government will destroy countries without batting an eye. And realize Donald Trump is not the first to do this. But the world is a little bit too complacent, just as Americans are. And people are waking up to it, but not enough. This country has done so much to destroy the world, and people are too passive in accepting it. And so the world needs to boycott America, not just regarding consumption, but culturally and socially as well.
When men stop equating success with marriage and start equating it with freedom, travel, disposable income, and mental stability, the cultural script loses leverage, because you can't shame someone who genuinely enjoys their own company.
Here's a reminder, ladies, if a man's not your type financially, you can tell him. Men have been telling us for centuries that we're not physically their type, we're not pretty enough, we're not thin enough, we're just not their type. So now it's our turn. You can tell him he's not your type financially.
After the age of 25, women in America pretty much only see men as transactional. That is it, okay? If you think that she's looking at you and saying, oh, he's good looking, he's tall, he's nice, that's why I want to date him, you're wrong. Majority of these women are just after what you could do for them, and your looks, your height, your fucking nice personality will always come last, okay? They will rather date a man who is 5'3" with acne all over his face and 300 pounds if that person could change her life, or she could, gain a bunch of money or status from that man. Okay, that is what it is. That is what feminism in America has done to these women. They do not value men. They do not respect men. They have no interest in men besides taking from them, and that is it. And if you don't believe me, look at the court systems. Look at the divorce rates. Look at every single man on social media who has lost everything, their house, their kids, pay money every month. And then the woman never gets remarried. She just collects alimony while living with a boyfriend. Or if she finds somebody who has more than the ex-husband, then she'll marry that guy and do the same thing to him. Okay? Because this is what it is. There is no love from a woman in America anymore. It does not exist. If you think that she loves you, she doesn't. These women are Oscar award-winning actresses by default. They are born this way. Okay? They will look you dead in the face and tell you they love you, they care about you, and that you're all this and that, and not mean a word. And when they are with their girlfriends behind your back, they will laugh about it and talk about how much they don't respect you or how much they don't care about you. And the girlfriends know and support it because they're actively doing the same exact thing to the men that they're talking to. This is the reality that you live in today. Don't forget it. Don't be a sucker. Feminism has completely rotted the minds of these women. These are not our mothers.
The old assumption was that single men were incomplete or secretly miserable. But now they're healthier, in shape, traveling, building businesses, and creating brotherhood circles. And it's hard to frame that as failure when it visibly looks like fulfillment.
I posted a video about liberal and Republican men, saying that liberal men are usually poor, and one girl commented, I liked your videos before that. Baby girl, are you dating a liberal? Are you stuck with a liberal? Why do you care so much? And by the way, she unfollowed me. I don't care, but it's so interesting who women date and why they hated this take. I bet she goes for this type of guy who is literally making no fucking money, not protecting his family, absolutely useless around the house, but then he cares about human rights. You can talk about democracy with him. I can talk about democracy with my friends. By the way, I don't even need to talk about democracy with my friends. But if you need it with your man, instead of him giving you a wife's salary. Okay, I let it be. I don't judge. I actually do. To each their own.
The discomfort comes from the loss of predictability, because when men are no longer motivated by fear of being alone and instead motivated by personal growth, they become selective in a way that can't be emotionally manipulated.
It's so clear to me across all my content that men and women just like kind of hate each other in the relationship realm. Like there are so many men who have been so hurt by women rejecting them, and there's so many women that are like screw men, and they just like don't even believe that there's good guys out there. And the more that we sink into these belief systems, the more that we're just going to remain divided, and it's horrible because humans are not wired to be divided. We're wired to be connected and to crave and give love to other people. So at the end of the day, it's not like a should a man versus a woman approach one another. Like, we're talking about it from a gender perspective, but like what I'm starting to realize is that a lot of people have just lost a sense of human decency and respect and like kindness. We think it's so easy to just like ghost people, and we just are afraid of confrontation, and we take the easy way out. We hurt people as a result of those behaviors. And it's like, I think that people are struggling in the dating world because like no one knows how to build genuine connection anymore, and we're all glued to our phones. We're afraid to talk to strangers. This goes on both ends. And yes, I mean, I'm talking a lot about how men should approach women more. I still believe that, but what I'm coming to realize too is like women need to also like signal to men that they want to be approached, and women should feel confident to go up to a guy and start talking to him in the way that I've done this as a social experiment across like in my life based off of the comments I've been receiving.
At the core of it all, men aren't rejecting love. They're rejecting chaos, imbalance, and transactional affection. And once they discover they can build a fulfilling life without negotiating their sanity, the urgency to couple up simply fades. That's all for today. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to press the notification bell so you get the latest updates from our channel.